in WebCT Vista environment, as well as other emerging web technology. And I believe you all know me, Apsonic. So you will have time, as you know, that throughout the session, you will have time for question and answer during the presentation. Now I'll give the mic to Cindy to start. Enjoy your training today.
Hi, everybody. Before we get started and do the introductions, I just want to make sure everybody's had a chance to do a sound check. So I think, Carl, you're the only one so far who hasn't indicated that you can hear okay. If you can, could you please click the check mark in the people area, the participants area in the bottom center of your screen, just so we know that your audio is working and you can hear us. Just give you a moment to do that. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Glad the audio is working. You shouldn't need to use the check mark through the presentation, so that's fine. And if you have questions for the rest of the group or for us, if you could just enter them in the text chat area. Emily will be monitoring the chat through the session, and we'll stop every so often to address the questions. So that's how we'll do things there. So we'll move on to introductions. As Afsani said, I'm a learning resource design strategist at the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology, and I work fairly extensively with wikis in preparing and developing resources. Emily, did you want to say anything else about your role? Nope, you're good. Okay, everybody knows Emily, and so we'll move on to the agenda for the better part of the next hour. First of all, I'm going to ask you to share what you know about wikis in general, and we'll sort of do a bit of an overview about what is a wiki in general. We'll talk a little bit about why wikis are important. I'll share with you some examples in practice. And then we'll take a tour of the UBC Wiki, our Media Wiki installation here at UBC. And we'll actually create a wiki page so you can get a sense of the process. Then we'll wrap up with just an overview of some of the key points, and we'll have time for wrap-up questions at the end. Okay, so the first thing, if you could respond to this poll, a wiki is, just by selecting your choice in the radio buttons there. And when everybody's finished, I will publish. I'll give you a moment to do that. Okay. Looks like everybody's made their selection, so I'll publish it out. Okay, so most people recognize Wiki as a collaborative online working space and open for anyone to edit. That's great. Glad nobody chose a pain in the neck. It's a good place to start. So we'll just start with an overview. What is a wiki? A wiki is a collaborative web space that allows people to collaborate and work together to create a resource or participate in a course, discussion, solve problems, etc. Most wikis are open spaces, allowing anyone with user access to contribute to or modify the content. And UBC Wiki is as well. We have CWL access, so basically anyone with CWL access can create an account and edit wiki content there. And there is a learning curve. A little planning, a little time, and some good orientation support is really important, both for you and for your students. So welcome, Denise. Someone else has just joined us, and Emily's getting her oriented, so that's great. Why are wikis important? Well, I'm going to look at this question from three perspectives. First of all, the sort of overview perspective, the broader context of higher ed, and then the specific context of teaching, and finally, professional application. So this is a quote from the Annual Horizon Report, and for any of you who are not familiar with it, it reports out on qualitative research that looks at emerging technologies such as wikis that are likely to have a large impact on teaching and learning on our campuses within the next 5 years. So the quote is, increasingly both students and their professors see the challenges facing the world as multidisciplinary and the need for collaboration great. Over the past few years, the emergence of a raft of new and often free tools has made collaboration easier than at any other point in history. And you'll see from this next slide, this is just a few of the tools that are available to us. So the ones that we're concerned with are primarily the ones on the right side of the slide, starting from publish at the top with wikis and blogs, and then going down to microblogging with Twitter in the microblogging section. Students are likely to use 2, 3, 4 of these tools probably every term that they're studying. So students are getting more and more familiar with them in general. However, this next slide shows what people are actually doing when they're online. And I'll just give you a moment to look at the slide, but if you take a look, just a general overview, you can see that there are a lot of joiners, a lot of spectators, a lot of people actually using the content, and far fewer people creating content. And while this is U.S.-based, we can extrapolate this to a Canadian context as well. Certainly, that's what seems to be the case in Canada when we talk to our colleagues. So the important thing I think about this is if you look at the top 2 areas, creators and critics, these areas would have probably been pretty much flatlined 5 years ago. So this is a new development where people really are spending some time creating content online. And what that means for us is it essentially is a new form of literacy. Yes, there's a lot of junk out there, but people are really working to create good quality content online, and the quality is improving. So anytime you bring these tools into your practice and teaching, I think it helps to promote that kind of media literacy that's important for students as they go out into the workforce. So the second piece is from a teaching context, why wikis are important. This is a quote from one of your colleagues here at UBC, John Beasley Murray, who taught a course in Latin American literature using Wikipedia as a place for students to create their work. He chose Wikipedia rather than UBC's platform for a couple of reasons. Partly because he wanted students to contribute to a resource that they use daily and to get familiar with the back end of it as well as the front end, and really understand its strengths as well as its weaknesses. He thought that his students could also add to the fairly weak body of literature, body of articles on Latin American literature that existed on Wikipedia. And so thereby they were contributing to a very real way in a very real way to a body of knowledge, building a body of knowledge. And he says, I like the idea that students would be engaging in a real-world project with tangible and public, if not necessarily permanent, effects. In the end, an essay or an exam is an instance of busy work, usually written in haste for one particular reader, the professor, and thereafter discarded. And so I would really encourage you to read his article that I've referenced here. Emily's actually going to send a collection of links to the various resources that we've used. So don't worry if you don't have a chance to explore them. You will get a chance to do that later. So here's just a snapshot of, in blue, you'll see the articles that a number of students wrote in John Beasley Murray's course. And then just to the right of that, you'll notice how many views each of those articles received just in a 1-month period in March 2008. So he certainly met his goal of having students reach a much broader audience. And clearly there was a need for this kind of content on Wikipedia. People were looking for it, and so once it was available, people found it. For those of you who aren't familiar with how Wikipedia works, and this is essentially the same as how UBC Wiki works, it's a process of curation. for content. So there's a level 1 and then a level 2, which is really about getting the word out. So at level 1, you have a number of people who are in the wiki doing some editing, changing internal links, categorizing, tagging, flagging things. We have someone who works specifically on UBC Wiki doing this as a student position. He's a library student, and he does a fabulous job of organizing content and getting in touch with authors to make sure that your content is in the right place so that people can find it. So the second important piece in Wikipedia is this set of volunteer content creators. And these are the people who are really helping people edit their content to make it the best it can be. In John Beasley Murray's case, there were a number of people who came forward to essentially act as TAs and really help the students to develop really great articles. And so the article, the one little ball in green you see there, that represents a really good article. And then that goes out, the social curators, or the people on Delicious and Twitter and blogs, find out about that really good article. They talk about it in their various forms of social media, and then the content consumers find out about it, and the circle begins again. They go back to check it out. Some of them become contributors or content curators. So that's how the process works. The third piece is related to the professional world, and in this case, we can say that collaboration via social media is increasingly becoming, sorry about becoming twice, becoming a part of professional practice. And so I listed two projects there. The Medpedia project, which is a long-term worldwide project it's basically a wiki-based project like Wikipedia, only for medical professionals. And we're going to have a look at it when we look at some of the examples in just a moment. But basically, medical professionals can contribute to the content, and patients can make use of it. And then Webicina, which is really listing a variety of Web 2.0 tools that medical professionals might want to know about, and providing an annotated list. But just as a point of interest, I'm going to throw a question back out at you and ask you to respond in the chat area. If any of you regularly use blogs or other social web tools as part of your practice to research things that you want to know about. So if you could just let us know if any of you use social web tools, blogs, other social networking sites as part of your practice. Okay, not from a research point of view. From a practice point of view? Okay, just socially. Okay, great. Yes, from a practice point of view, good. Search engines, not social networks, nor practice. Okay, great. So perhaps having a look at some of the examples coming up will give you a sense of what might be out there for you as well. Any questions so far? Okay, so I'm going to move right into the examples. And these are websites that I'm pushing out to you, so you can actually scroll down and explore them a little bit. This first one is Webicina. So this is the site that seems to act as a portal for healthcare professionals to access information about online resources. So if you scroll down a bit, you'll see a list of dentistry wikis on this page. And it gives a little bit of an annotated description about what each one of them is and where you can find more information. So it allows you to go to a central place to look at what might be available to you. And just scroll down and have a look, and then I'll bring us back to the page. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second example. And this is Medpedia. Oh, okay, everybody's got it up now. This is the Wiki-based site. So medical professionals are contributing content here. Patients or organizations are accessing the content. And if you just click on the Read More link right at the top, will take you to a page that gives you a bit of a description about what this is. Just take a moment to have a quick review of it, and I'll bring us back to the page in just a moment. So you can see that a number of fairly high-profile medical schools are involved in this project. The use of wikis as a way to author and distribute content is becoming more and more accepted and worthwhile. So I'm going to take us back to that main page again. And again, this will be a resource that will be on that list that Emily sends out, so you'll be able to have a look at this in depth. I'm going to move on to the next example. And this is a course, a first-year math course on our Wiki environment at UBC Wiki. I chose this example because of the layout on the page, and I'd like us to take a look at some of that in detail. I think it's a really good example of good practice in terms of setting up your course on a Wiki. So if we just want to scroll down a little bit over to the box called the Faculty of Science, Department of Mathematics on the right-hand side. If you just click on David Kohler, the instructor's name, it will take you to a user page. And when we get into to looking at UBC Wiki as a live demo, I'm going to show you where this is, so you'll be able to create one once you choose to go and set up your account. But basically, he's given some information about himself, some of the things that inspire him. So it's a way for the students to get to know a little something about him. And he uses that as a signature every time he contributes content on the site. I'm going to take us back to that main page. So the other thing I'd like you to have a look at, if you just scroll down in that box a little bit, you'll see something called Getting Started. If you just click on that link, and just have a look through that page, just to get a sense of how the instructor is using the content and orienting students to the course in general and the different components on the wiki. Okay, I'm going to take us back to the main page again. And then in that same box, again, if you scroll down a bit, click on Groups. And then when you get to that page, click on group number 7. This is a really good example of how students are using the wiki excuse me, in doing their homework, solving problems. And if you scroll down that page, you'll see that they've indicated their answers, or what they think are their answers, and contributed to solving each question or problem that they've been posed with. And in doing that, they've also included some YouTube videos, which seem like a really creative way of adding content for other students as well. And then if you scroll right back up on that page and click on the Discussion tab, you can see where the instructor, David Kohler, has given some feedback to the students about their work. So I'll just give you a moment to have a look at that before we take you back. Okay. We'll go back to the main page. I noticed that some of you are saying the internet connection is slow. I hope you had a little bit of a chance to view those pages without too much trouble. But again, those links will be coming out to you so you can have a look at them in more detail. Okay, this next example is a different kind of example. This is basically a resource page. So this was a page that initially was set up when Emily and I and another colleague did a session on mind maps for a conference. We created this wiki resource and just built on it over the last couple of years since that conference to a much richer resource that we can use for a variety of things. I wanted to show you this page. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that we've added YouTube videos on the page. We've added a table on the page, and then some actual Flash-based inserted some mind maps. And we did this while we were working live on these mind maps during the session. So I wanted to show you this because there are a variety of ways you can use a wiki once you get familiar with it beyond just text. Okay. Any questions or comments so far? I'll give you a moment. Okay, so Emily's checking on sound. Looks like sound is good for people. That's great. So the next part of the session is a live tour of UBC Wiki, and this is going to take me a moment to set up. I'm going to share my screen, so please be patient. Where's my selection? Here. Okay, so everybody should be seeing the page for UBC Wiki in just a moment. Oh, get rid of that. Okay, we're good. So the first thing I'm going to do is enter my CWL. And if you do this for the first time, it will take you to a page to create your account. Okay, so now I'm on the main page. And you'll see up in the top right-hand corner a selection of things related to my profile and my activity on the wiki. So I'm going to click on Cindy Underhill, which is my username. And when you first set up an account, you'll give yourself a username that will appear always in that corner when you've logged in. So this is my user page, just like the one I showed you of the instructor in the math course. It's important to create this page because it really helps you when you want to contribute to content to the site. You'll be adding a signature, and we'll show you how to do that when we create a page. And this builds trust on the site because people can click on that signature, find out a little bit about who you are, know how you've contributed to their page. And so it's an important thing to just put something there about who you are, what your relationship to UBC is, and what kinds of work you're involved in. So that's the user page. I'm not going to talk about the tabs on the top so much because we'll look at that when we actually create a page on the site. But I am just going to tell you something about this watch tab right on the top. If you click on any page you're visiting, if you click on, once you're logged in, if you click on the watch tab, it essentially goes into your bookmarks or something called your watch list. and I'm going to go over that in just a moment. So far I'm not watching this page, but I'm going to watch it so I can show you when we get to the watch list that I've added it. And maybe we'll go over there right now. So I'm just going to go onto the watch list. And I'm going to go right into the center. I think this is kind of moved off the side a little bit on your screen. Let me see if I can adjust it a bit. I'm just going to make my browser window a little bit smaller here. Okay. There we go. You may have to scroll a little bit along the side to see it. So here we are on the watch list, and I'm just going to go into the user section. These are all the different categories of the wiki where I might find pages. And so I'm watching a lot of pages because I spend a lot of time here creating resources. So I'm going to go into the user section, and you can see that my page up here, user Cindy Underhill, has been added. So I'm just going to go back up. And that's your watch list. Your watch list is really important because you can set preferences on the wiki site so that whenever a page that you're watching is changed, you can be notified by email of that change, which is really helpful if you're watching student pages or content pages that you've created that you're expecting students to edit. And I'll show you where that is under My Preferences. Again, I've clicked on My Preferences on the top right. Okay, and you can see if you scroll down the page, under User Profile, you'll see something called Email. And that gives you a selection of preferences. So I've chosen Email me when a page on my watch list is changed, Email me when my user talk page is changed, and enable email from other users. So that's something that you want to set up probably when you first set up your account. So I'm going to go back up to the top to My Talk and show you the user talk page. So this is where people would go if they clicked on my name, Cindy Underhill, anywhere on the wiki where I had left a signature where I'd edited something. They click on that, and they might want to leave me a message. So they go to my discussion page, and they leave me a message here. And you can see that I've been talking back and forth with our wiki administrator. There's his user page. I can see who he is and what he's about. Okay, so we've looked at the user page, my talk page, my preferences, my watch list. Now we're just going to have a look at my contributions. So this is just a list of all of your recent contributions on the wiki. Sometimes you'll forget to watch a page that you've worked on, and then you may not remember what you've named it. So this is a helpful way of navigating where you last were on the wiki. So it's useful to remember that. I'm not going to answer any questions at the moment. However, if you do have a question about what we're looking at, please enter it in the text chat, and Emily will do her best to log those questions. And then when we take questions at the end of the screen share, then I'll be able to answer those. So we'll just go back. You should be seeing the main wiki page right now. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the different areas of the wiki. And if you just scroll down, what I want you to see is the area How to Use This Wiki and Teaching and Learning. Okay, so the four distinct areas of UBC Wiki are the main area, which is where there's basic encyclopedic type information about maybe groups at UBC, different kinds of research projects that people are involved in, but basic sort of one-pager information. Then there's the course area, and this is reserved for course-based activities like the math course that I showed you or other courses. The documentation space is reserved for people who are writing documentation like we do about how to use wikis or weblogs or other tools, or people who might be writing documentation for a particular software they're using in a faculty. And then there's the sandbox, and that's where we're actually going to create our page. So this is really your place to play. This is the place to go when you're learning to use the wiki and you want to start a page for the first time, or when you're doing some planning and you're using a wiki as a way to plan collaboratively with others. I'm going to go over to the teaching and learning section because I think there are a number of resources here that can help you, especially when you're getting started on the wiki. And the first page we're going to look at is called the New User Welcome page at the bottom of that list. I'm going to click on that. And this basically tells you about the kinds of things you'll want to do when you first set up your wiki. Things you might want to do right away: learn how to format, edit, or create pages with links to those three things. Get oriented to the different spaces on the UBC Wiki, which is a bit of what we just did. Do some exploration, and you can do that by clicking in those spaces and getting a sense of what's there. Updating your user page, which we've done. Have a look at the help contents, which we'll do in a moment, and frequently asked questions. So then it goes on to give you some tips for new users, and there's a little video about learning your way around so that you can get familiar with the wiki. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home page again. And we're going to go into the Getting Started, go on to the Getting Started page. Okay, we're going to try and avoid scrolling too much, but just so you know what's here, there's a basic introduction to wikis in general if you want to learn more about how they work, and a good sort of outline of what's available to you on Wiki Help, so you can get a really good sense of what's there. Up in the contents area here, you'll see that on this page you can learn how to edit an existing page, which is always an advisable thing to do if you're intimidated by creating your own page the first time. It's really great to get to know the wiki by editing a page. So when we create our page today, you'll be able to do that after this session. Okay. And I'm going to click on the globe. It's a good thing to know that you can click on the globe on the top left-hand corner every time you're on a page. That will take you right back to the main page on the wiki. Okay. Now we're going to go into general help topics. And this is the main help page, so everything is here that you'll need to know in terms of help. So if you just scroll down a little bit, you can see under all help articles, there's a whole list of, this is pretty much everything you'd ever want to do on the wiki you can access from here. So when you're trying to do something and you're frustrated because you're not sure how to do it, just head to the home page and look at this general help, and you'll probably find what you're looking for here. Okay, so I'm slowly going to scroll up again and go back to our home page again by clicking on the globe. And then we're going to go into the sandbox. And once you're in the sandbox area, you can see that there are instructions for creating a new page right in that little orange box right on that main page. But what we're going to do is, if you follow my cursor right up to the browser bar, we're going to start a new page as follows. We will call it DHYG Tech Buffet. So really all you need to do is enter it right from that area. We want to have sandbox : and then the name of your page right there. Sandbox : is just a way of helping us determine that it's in that space on the wiki, the sandbox space. So as soon as I click enter, it will take me to this page. So basically what the wiki is doing is looking for a page that is named DHYG Tech Buffet. There is no page, so it's asking me if I want to make that page. I click on yes, edit this page, and it takes me right into the editing screen. It might take a few moments for the toolbar to load. When it does, you'll see the other pieces come right beside the B. But it's for some reason it's a little bit slow when we're using Live Classroom. Okay, it's not coming up, so I'm going to go ahead and create the page anyway. And the first thing I'm going to do is create some headings. So I do that with these dashes, and if you could see the whole toolbar, you would see a large A, I think it is, that tells you that that's a heading, and it will give you these marks automatically. So I'm just going to call this heading 1. And I'm going to make about 6 of them because after 5 headings, it generates a table of contents for you. So I want you to have a look at that. Heading 2, heading 3, oops. Heading 4, heading 5, heading 6. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is create some lists. So within this heading, I'm going to create a list like this. It's basically the asterisk over your 8 and list item 1 and list item 2. And basically the list is generated every time you have an asterisk in front of an item. It goes into your bulleted list. If you want to indent it a little further, you just add 2 asterisks like that. List item 2A, like that. And when you want to make a space from your list and you don't want to do a list anymore, you just create a space there. That's how that goes. So I'm going to save this, and you'll see if I go right down to the bottom of my screen, I can click on Save Page when I'm ready to save, but I can also click on Editing Help if I couldn't remember how to do a heading, etc. I could click on that, and it will open up a help page in a new window. I won't do that now, but just so you know that help is available to you on every page when you're editing it. Okay? So I'm going to save this page, and there we are. It's generated our table of contents and some headings that I can add content to. So you can see up at the top, this is our main page where it says Sandbox, and then we have a discussion page, which we'll go to in just a moment, and our edit page. That's where we go when we want to edit this page. The history will tell us how many different versions of the page we've created. And so you'll see only 1 bullet point there. That's because we've just done 1 edit. But you'll be able to track all of the edits on the pages using the history page. The move page, if I ever wanted to move this page to a different part, if let's say I created it in the sandbox, but I wanted to move it to the course area, I could certainly do that here. Okay, and I'm going to go back to our page and back to our sandbox page. I'm going to watch this page because I want to keep it on my watch list. And now I'm going to go into the discussion area. And I'm going to show you how, I can't show you how to use the signature because I'm not seeing the full toolbar, unfortunately. But if I were going to do that, I would say hello. I might want to add a a comment here. Using a wiki requires you to practice. And then from the toolbar, I would select my signature. But here, it goes something just like this. User Cindy Underhill. This probably isn't going to give me a link. I'll save it. Yeah, this would be linked. If I could link it to my signature, and it would take me up to my user page. But you'll be able to see that once you're out of Live Classroom. It's some glitchy thing with Live Classroom that it doesn't seem to be working today. Okay, so that's basically how you create a page. And what I would really encourage you to do is make a note of this URL up at the top here, Sandbox, DHYG Tech Buffet. And please feel free to come back to this page once you get an account on Wiki and use it to play with. So you can go in and edit, experiment on this page rather than feeling like you have to create your own. So I am going to close this area now and go back to the main Live Classroom screen. Okay. So, any questions? I'm just searching through the questions here. Okay. Let's follow up with some key points. So wikis do support online collaboration, but probably more importantly, resource development, contribution to knowledge building, ways for people to record what they're doing and then share it out beyond the moment that they're doing it. They're intended for open collaborative editing. So that's important for you to know. If you're using a wiki, it really is meant to be edited. If you want it closed and protected, probably the UBC system is not for you. It's really meant to be openly edited by the users. Wikis require, like all tools, some orientation about how to use it and encouraging people to participate. So really the best way to learn how to use a wiki is by getting in there and experimenting with it. One of the tips that I'll give you, when I first started using wikis, when I saw pages that I really liked and I liked certain elements, like when we were on that math page, that little area, that little box on the side to organize content. When I like those kind of elements, I would just go into the editing screen and just copy that, bring it over into my page and adjust what I needed to adjust to make it my own. And certainly that kind of practice is really encouraged on the wiki, so it's a good way to learn the tools as well. The next point, wiki content is really only as good as the contributions. So the little graphic at the front, "You are the wiki," is really what it's all about. And wiki pages are meant to evolve and improve with edits, which is why we encourage open editing, because we know that the pages will only improve the more people who get involved in editing those pages. So any questions from anybody at this point? I'll give you a moment to think about it. For collaborative work, do we need to start in a sandbox? Do you mean planning work? If you mean sort of planning when you haven't really decided what you're going to do and you're working on a project and you might want to just flesh it out a little bit, then yes, the sandbox is the place to start. Where are the codes for wiki development of page? Editing help, yes. If you go into the, if you go right at the top on a tab that says edit, or it says edit right at the top of the wiki. If you go there, then you'll be able to see where the code is on the back end. Is the sandbox for practice only, not a real one? You can actually, it is still real. It's still, anybody can go in there and use it for anything. You could have a sandbox associated with your course if you wanted to. But its main purpose is really for, how can I say it? I guess things that aren't fully well formed. They're kind of just forming, just developing, testing, practice, initial collaborations, that kind of thing. How can you have a UBC closed wiki? My classes have private group work. Wikis aren't, the UBC wiki doesn't offer that option as a closed wiki. There are other wiki tools that outside of UBC that will allow you to set a password and do that, but it's not an option on UBC wiki. What other people are finding when they're doing group work and courses is that once they set it up to those users, people don't generally go in and edit those pages. So there really hasn't been too much of a concern with that. However, if it is work that you really want to maintain, where you really want to maintain confidentiality, if you're discussing patient issues, etc., then perhaps the wiki is not the place to do that kind of work. Do you recommend Wiki for writing a collaborative paper? Most definitely. You can actually print it to PDF so that when you're writing something, you can actually produce it in a print form. So it can be very useful for that. Do you think the use of wiki pages decreases the importance of avoiding plagiarism in students' minds? I don't think so. In fact, I didn't show you this, but on the math course that I showed, when he's talking to students about getting started, he's added a link there to the plagiarism policy, and probably makes it a point during his face-to-face encounters with students to talk a little bit about that. So I don't think that it does decrease the importance of avoiding plagiarism. I just think it's important always, as with any kind of tool that you're using, that you talk about it with students and give them opportunities to learn more about it. How do you print to PDF? There is a link on the left side of the wiki once you're logged in that will allow you to do that. And if you don't see that link, just get a hold of Wiki support, and they'll make sure that you can see it associated with your account. Okay. The last piece I'm going to show you, I'm just going to push out this page. So this is the e-learning site, and this is part of our toolkit. We have developed a toolkit around wiki use. We're talking mainly about MediaWiki because it is the tool we use. So there is an area to follow up with uses and benefits, some examples, and on that examples page, we do have a link to John Beasley Murray's write-up about his course if you want to have a further look at that. Some getting started resources and tips there as well. So that's just for your reference, and that will be included in our follow-up resource list. And one final thing, if you could please give us your feedback about the session, maybe something about what you learned. If there's anything that got in your way with regard to the technology or something I was doing, please let us know, and we're going to save this for future sessions. So it would be really helpful to us. Also, if there's anything more that you'd like to learn about related to wikis or other technologies, you can add that in here as well. So just take a moment to do that before we wrap up. Additional readings. Thanks, Carl. There are links to additional readings under the resource section on that e-learning Wiki Toolbox page that I showed you, and Emily will be following up with links, including a link to that specific resource so that you can have a look at some further readings about Wiki use in classrooms. Thanks for the question. Okay, so once you've given your feedback, I'd just like to thank you very much for your participation. I'm sorry that we got off to a bit of a rocky start with the first part of the screen sharing on wikis. I don't think you were seeing your full screen, but hopefully you managed to that managed to improve for you as time went on. Digging in the sandbox is the best way to get started. Thanks, Ray. And all the best with your wiki work in future. Thanks again.